Welcome to A Few Minutes with Jesus. We're still in Holy Week. We're looking at Thursday, and there's so many significant things that happen on Thursday. This is probably going to be multiple parts. But one of the things we have to remember is they're celebrating the Passover. Now, this is the Passover that God commanded them to continue the Passover feast, to remember what He had done for them. Now, this is clear back in Exodus when they were being rescued from Egypt. And God told them to take a lamb, a perfect lamb, sacrifice that lamb, and put the blood around the door and to feast on that lamb, and that they would be saved from death. God made a promise that if they put the blood of the lamb on the door, that death would pass over them. So they would be saved by death. And they feasted on that meal. So this is the meal that Jesus sat down with His disciples as they began the Passover feast. And Jesus said, I have fervently waited for this. I have waited for this opportunity to have this meal with you. So Jesus sat down for this last meal with His disciples. And as He sat there, He instituted what we know as communion, as the Eucharist. We know that Jesus sat down with His disciples and He picked up the bread and He broke it. And He said, this is my body broken for you. Then He picked up the cup and He said, this is the sign of the new covenant, my blood poured out for you for the remission of sins. And He said, take and drink. And He said, do this in remembrance of me. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting is here's Jesus. He knows what's going to happen. And He broke the bread knowing that His body's going to be broken. He picked up the cup saying, hey, this is my blood shed for you. And none of them ask a question. There's nothing in Scripture that said, Jesus, I don't understand this. In fact, after He did this, most of the thing in Scripture goes, which of us is the greatest? They were more concerned about who was the greatest than the example that Jesus had just given them. Can you imagine that moment when Jesus faced the cross? That they had that aha moment, that they realized that when He broke the bread, He was talking about His body that was broken for them. When He was talking about the blood shed for them, for the remission of sins, that they realized it, that they realized the love that was poured out for them. So don't ever take communion lightly. And just remember, He loves you, and so do I. Be blessed, my friends.